So while Jewish tradition forbids any overt act to hasten death, most authorities agree that nothing need to be done to keep a dying person alive artificially. The classic story is Rabbi Yehuda Nasi was being kept alive by the unceasing prayers of his colleagues, as it says in Ketubot 104a in the Talmud. And a servant recognized the case was hopeless and that Rabbi Judah was in great pain and diverted the rabbi's attention, so they stopped praying and Rabbi Yehuda died peacefully. In Sefer chassidim in the 13th century, it says that if a person is sick and in pain and dying and asks another person to kill him mercifully, this request may not be fulfilled, nor may the person take his own life. It's semachot 2:1. If one destroys himself consciously, we don't involve ourselves in this funeral and we don't say a eulogy for him. That's in terms of suicide. Semachot 2:12. Making rights aren't withheld in any respect from one who fell into the sea or who was carried away by a stream, or killed by a wild beast. The term tzedakah is derived from the Hebrew word tzedek, justice, righteousness. For example, in devarim 16:20, it says tzedek, tirdof, which means to pursue righteousness, pursue justice. And I just want to make a comment. We hear that tzedakah tatzal memava, saves from death. Anyway, Shabbat 153. If from the funeral eulogy pronounced over a man, we know whether eternal life is his or not. In all sins forgiven the person who studies Torah. This is berachot 5a. And learning Talmud Torah is considered equal to all the other mitzvahs combined. That's the mishna peah 1:1. Shawn, sheshn, Hashmatpour says true confidence is not suppressing our feelings; it's learning to regulate, process, and align with our truth. We stop seeing others as a threat, and we rediscover who oneself is: power, purpose, values. We find confidence in expression. We walk into the world with certainty and ease, without no more hesitation and self-doubt. We own our presence and find inner peace and liberation. We find opportunities that bring joy. We heal from the past and move forward. And we step back into the world as the best version of ourselves. Because deep and lasting transformation is not surface-level tactics or quick fixes. One, there's subconscious programming work, which is the changing beliefs that had been conditioned unto the mind by trauma, fear, and resentment. We have to undo the damage and rewrite internal narrative to train to trust again and stop expecting betrayal and rejection and feel like and to actually feel we deserve love and connection. Two, we have to do the healing inner work. This is when we deal with what is dug up from suppression, like anger, shame, and guilt, and learning to forgive ourselves for carrying that weight. And three, exposure therapy, being seen again, facing life head on, including being ignored, rejected, not letting the fear control me, what ifs, and all that, etc., to prove to ourselves that I'm safe and nothing needs to mean anything beyond the moment. In an ACA meeting, I was learning about social skills. ACA is adult children of alcoholics, but it's also for adult children of dysfunctional families. And I was thinking higher power is like the bridge, because people are not toys, and we have to be willing to admit when we make a mistake. That's what heals that divide inside, which leads untreated to infected, standing on the perfectionist side of the cliff versus the real self side. This breeds inner demons like the contempt, the arrogance, and standing up to a bully when they don't stay in their lane or honor my innate sovereignty. For example, I'm allowed to say no. And the idea of parent-child dynamics brought into friendships, it jeopardizes. It's like testing rules and boundaries. And there's got to be building this inner bank of trust, becoming someone I can trust, being honest, training my mind to value the truth, being more open than judging, staying conscious, staying present, learning how to say no to abuse, someone who makes me responsible for making them feel better and get their way, for example, giving up my goodness or my portion, and or taking on their badness, their portion. And obviously we're saying without consent, not because I chose to or because I'm being misled. Maybe I don't know what I'm really giving up or what I'm really getting. Learning how to say no to abuse includes a lot of different elements. Okay, building focus as a skill versus using fantasy as a coping mechanism. So focusing on what we want rather than fantasizing to escape. Owning that I misunderstand God as wanting to make me deprived versus content, and as testing me by blocking my will versus the opportunity to ask for what I really need. Because that's an internal higher power. Like, who's the higher power? Do I assume the higher power is not going to be kind, is going to hurt the other? After stopping people pleasing, I didn't realize I could stop doing so much, could start pleasing myself. Peace felt foreign, actually. And my therapist, we talked about how there was this man, Natan, who I was testing trust issues and misunderstandings. And this idea of what was the value I learned from all that? Because he's not in my life now, was stability. And in terms of growth, that my values have shifted, and I've grown, and the idea that growth doesn't always have to equal pain, because pruning doesn't always have to hurt. This is what I got out of my relationship with him. And also that it can happen by nurture too, like through sun and water. Growth, it doesn't always have to be because, growing pains. Okay. And also this idea of this inner baby, and also being my own wife, pleasing myself, caring for myself, loving myself. But this inner baby and being, my own wife, it's not when I got enough care to survive, but a pretty outdated version to be rooting in a person as if life and death versus rooting in the source, because people do change and die, and I have to be able to take care of myself. And then finding meaning in the present moment versus fantasizing to cope when there's too much on my plate, if I'm taking on too much responsibility, worrying too much about the future. Others might be wounded too and feel unsafe or inadequate too. I don't know what people are always going through in the moment. And then this idea of testing, how sometimes it actually is about, we might find that we're bringing chaos and unpredictability, but also by breaking the others, micro boundaries means I'm trying to stop or sabotage the very stability that was attractive and reassuring to begin with, because I don't know how to appreciate that internally. Like what caused me suffering with Michael, like breaking boundaries, including the micro boundaries, like that's what I was doing. So it was kind of like what was done to me. I couldn't help it. It rubbed off on me in such a way that that's what I also felt was like now something to like to test the thing that was good, like what was done to me. Like, why didn't they just trust that it was good? Why did they have to try to test it? The testing could also be damaging. In a CODA meeting, which was Codependence Anonymous meeting, I like to learn about interdependence through not being codependent. So I